So I was really sitting around for a while thinking about what versus video I wanted to do for Shunsui because there's not a lot of characters that mesh very well with him. Sure, there's some characters that have a similar personality. There's tons of easygoing cool characters in anime, but it's not very easy to match up with Shunsui's abilities because Shunsui's powers are very unique and almost specific, right? When you get to his Bankai and stuff like that. So finding someone for Shunsui to fight was very difficult, and then I remembered there's an ongoing debate, and probably will be an ongoing debate for the end of time in the Bleach community, about Shunsui in Fate Karakura Town versus Aizen in Fate Karakura Town. Now, we're obviously going to be talking about base form Aizen no Hogyoku because that's where the discussion typically starts from, and usually it sparks from Kubo saying in an interview that, well, I wanted people to think that Shunsui could beat Aizen. I had him fight Stark with just his Shikai, I didn't have him use his Bankai, so I put it in people's heads that maybe if Shunsui used his Bankai, he'd be able to beat Aizen. And I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and talk about that in today's video. Let's make that Shunsui's versus video because a lot of people are very curious about it, so I'll go ahead and answer the question. Now, if you enjoy Bleach power scaling content and these versus videos, we are on the summer schedule for the Bleach Hub channel, meaning you're going to be getting videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And if you're lucky and you're a bunch of good kids, maybe I will stream for you on Saturdays as well. And all I ask for in return is a like on the video and a sub to the channel, as it does help me out more than you know. But if you would like to go that extra mile in supporting the channel and gain access to some hidden content here on the channel, you can click that join button and become a channel member. It gives you access to certain debates that I have uploaded for members only, and you can also see past live streams. So if any of that interests you, you can become a channel member today by clicking that join button. Now, let's go ahead and dive right into this topic. So just to reiterate what Shunsui's Bankai can do, because that's generally the main crux of the argument, is that Shunsui's Bankai is going to bring down Aizen because his Bankai truly is powerful. The first act is meant to kind of put your opponent off guard because you're sharing damage, so it's going to make them a bit more apprehensive to just run up and kill you. Even though Shunsui announces, I can't kill you with this technique, it obviously is going to make them a bit worried about it, because even if I know it won't kill me, I don't want to stab somebody and know that I'm going to receive that same stab wound. That's unnecessary damage to myself. I'm probably going to take some precautions and try to work out how the ability works, which actually plays right into Shunsui's Bankai and going through all of the different acts. Because then you get hit with soul cancer or just an uncurable disease, but then we actually get to the wombo combo of his Bankai, the Abyss and then the Thread. See, the Abyss drags Shunsui and his opponent into the waters. They're not able to escape. Even Lille, who can fly, was never able to reach the surface of the water. He just could not escape. And it sucks all of the Ryatsu out of his opponent. Now, this seems very dangerous because if Shunsui's opponent has more Ryatsu than him, they'll just outlast him and he'll die. However, if Shunsui is able to time it right, he can just have it drain enough of their Ryatsu to where even if they were stronger, he can then finish them off with the final act of his Bankai, the Cutting Thread. Because then they've been weakened to a point where Shunsui can actually affect them with his attacks, although not really sure how that works out because Shunsui's also losing his Ryatsu as well. It's not specified if they lose Ryatsu at the same rate. It's a bit odd, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work out, that Shunsui's lowering their Ryatsu so now they're vulnerable to his attacks. And then he decapitates them and blows up their head and basically just wins the fight right then and there. And it also kind of counteracts regeneration because you're decapitating them, which for most characters with regen, whether it be a zombie or Wolverine in more calmer interpretations of the characters. I know there's some very ridiculous feats for Wolverine's regeneration, but generally, like, the rule they go with is like, you cut off his head and then he can't regenerate anymore. It's a nice counter to that, but then even for, I don't know, if you have like some Deadpool character who's like, I can regenerate even from a head, or you're like, I'm Cell and I can regenerate from the little nucleus in my brain, well, he blows up the head as well, just to be safe, right? And so he's got this really powerful Bankai, and people are like, yeah, maybe Shunsui could beat Aizen in Fate Karakura Town, which, no. I don't know if you guys remember, but Aizen's a bit stronger than Shunsui, just a teeny weeny bit stronger. For instance, Shunsui fights Stark with his Shikai. Yeah, that's very impressive, but he only actually kills Stark after Stark falls into a depression because all of the people that he finally had to consider as friends and family died in front of him, and he felt like he was failing Aizen. To say that Stark is depressed is probably a massive understatement. This dude was distraught and beside himself. And I don't know if you guys remember, but your emotional state in Bleach is very important. In fact, we see the effects of your emotions going wild in Ichigo. We see that when he's distressed, his inner world starts to rain or even flood. And an even better example of it affecting your ability to fight is when Ichigo is scared of Kenpachi, he can't even cut him. But once he focuses himself and actually resolves himself saying, I can cut him, I will cut him, then he actually manages to cut through Kenpachi. This is even further backed up by the fact that Stark just kind of shooting the Sero submachine gun, right? He's just literally holding it, just kind of doing a casual thing, is pressing Shunsui to thinking that he has to use his Bankai. So while yes, I'm not trying to detract from what Shunsui did against Stark, do understand that it's not like Stark was any pushover for Shunsui, or like they weren't in the same tier still, or even that Stark was still stronger than Shunsui. Shunsui just took advantage of his depression, right? And then remember that Aizen surpasses all of the Espada's abilities combined and one-shot all of the captains very casually. The fact that Shunsui is still affected by Kyoka Suigetsu as well shows that he's like not anywhere near Aizen's level, because we actually learn in Camp for Your Own World that while one of the weaknesses of Kyoka Suigetsu is similar to Kaname Zanpakuto, where if you're holding on to it, you can free yourself from the illusion. But the other weakness is that if you have enough Ryatsu, you can just Chad break out of it. And the fact that Shunsui can't just resist it or even somewhat fight Kyoka Suigetsu's influence even a little bit shows that he's not on Aizen's level. I appreciate what Kubo's trying to do in that interview. He's trying to build hype for Shunsui, and he really is kind of fostering this debate community that we do have. And I do appreciate when authors do that, right? When they leave some of these questions open-ended, they're like, oh, let the fans discuss it. But this one should be very, very obvious, guys. Shunsui's not even in the same tier as Aizen. He's not even in the same tier as Yamamoto. And that's like the only guy that Aizen was like, that's a bit iffy if I could beat you, Yamamoto. Remember that Yamamoto was slapping around both Shunsui and Yushiro at the same time, and was doing it rather casually, mind you. And then even looking at Shunsui's Bankai, we tie back to one of the issues I was talking about. If your opponent has more Ryatsu than you do, I'm pretty sure Shunsui just exhausts himself and dies. Because Aizen, right after leaving the Soul Society, was already considered to have at least twice the Ryatsu of a normal captain. And you could say, well, Shunsui is not a normal captain, he's a prodigy or whatever, but Aizen's like twice the strength of a captain, bro. We would just assume that he's talking about all the people present there. The only person that's maybe immune is Yamamoto, because he's clearly not in the same weight class as all of the other Shinigami. So that's the only exception there. And that was before Aizen was unlocking the Hogyoku and throwing it in his chest and doing crazy experiments and everything. So absolutely not. I don't think Shunsui stands a chance at all against Aizen. But I guess I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Do you think Shunsui even stands a chance against Aizen? Or do you think, I don't know, like Shunsui's gonna drain Aizen's Ryatsu faster than he's losing it? I mean, there's also the idea that when Shunsui does that and he's like, oh, I'm gonna drain your Ryatsu, Aizen puts him under Kyoka Suigetsu and has him perceive that Aizen's already been drained. He goes in for the kill, doesn't do anything, and Aizen just decapitates Shunsui. Like, we also forgetting that Kyoka Suigetsu allows for a lot of BS combos, and Aizen's not stupid. I'd wager to say that if the average YouTube commenter can come up with a strategy for Aizen to use, Aizen could probably do it. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I have my links in the description, the Discord, the Twitter, all that good stuff. Click those if you will. Like and subscribe, click the join button, all that good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.